Preparing your supply chains for 2021. Record freight volume, capacity constraints, port congestion, major parcel carrier delays, record consumer e-commerce sales, historically low inventory demand, working from home, and to top it all off, a global pandemic are how supply chains and logistics professionals have started 2021. Let's take a look at some important points to consider for your supply chain going into 2021. Port volumes are high. Port volumes are at record highs, meaning imports are continuing to keep port capacity maxed out, resulting in less extra transportation capacity in major port cities. Delays are also to be expected when moving freight out of West Coast ports. U.S. railroads have also reported their West Coast intermodal capacity is heavily in demand, with little to no spare capacity. Shippers moving large quantities of international containers via intermodal freight will also see rail delays largely due to drayage and equipment shortages. For domestic shippers, expect the currently high freight rates to remain elevated for at least several months. Restocking will continue. Factory shutdowns and transportation delays led to lower than normal inventory levels in mid to late 2020. But retailers are seeking to improve inventory levels going into 2021. If your inventory levels are still low, you'll need to keep in constant communication with suppliers and supply chain partners to provide enough inventory for sales, and try to slowly rebuild inventory levels. Just-in-time inventory management has become a standard, with decreased capital cost, decreased inventory holding cost, and higher inventory turnover. It's an optimized model for financial performance. However, it relies on suppliers and transportation partners getting replenishment stock on a much more precise schedule, which is a prime target for disruption with a major event like the COVID-19 pandemic. Trucking driver shortages. The trucking driver shortage will likely only get worse. As anyone in the industry has often heard, there is an increasing shortage of truck drivers that will continue to be an issue going forward. COVID-19 has slowed the recruitment and licensure of new truck drivers. COVID-19, on top of the FMCSA's 2020 drug and alcohol policy, have helped to increase the shortage of drivers drastically in the late part of 2020. In the early part of 2021, carriers are attempting to recruit more company drivers and owner-operators. Class 8 truck sales reached record high numbers as well during the final months of 2020, showing that carriers are working hard to expand their capacity base while freight demand remains high. Bidding strategy. Shippers have many different approaches to moving their freight reliably, efficiently, and controlling their costs. A large percentage of shippers bid out lanes on a yearly or even a multi-year basis, while others keep a portion of freight moving via the spot market. Splitting your shipping needs between contracts and the spot market, or shorter-term mini-bids that are valid from 1 to 3 months, is a great way to diversify rate increases. For many longer lanes, intermodal is a very compelling alternative to over-the-road trucking, with rates substantially less costly and volume capacity available on lanes that trucks are hard to source. Embrace technology. You need to be integrating technology into your supply chain operations. The range of tech solutions currently available in the supply chain industry is astounding, giving you a huge range of technology and services to create more efficient processes, more data-driven decision-making, increased visibility, and collaboration between your facilities and outside partners. Supplier and supply chain diversity. 2020 was a wake-up call for mitigating risk within the supply chain. As we've said before, this will be a major focus of many firms as they go into 2021. Specifically, firms will try to reduce relying on a single supplier for a majority of components or products. By spreading their supplier base across multiple countries, political and geographic risk is also reduced. For many smaller firms, diversification in this manner will be harder to achieve. But even small firms should strongly consider the risk associated with relying on one supplier for a majority of their inventory or part needs. More focus on final mile and reverse logistics. We will touch on this in an upcoming video, but e-commerce demand and growth have pushed final mile and fulfillment firms to grow their capacity as well. Double-digit e-commerce growth is expected again for 2021. On a per-mile basis, the final mile of any package's journey has by far the highest cost. Many industry-leading firms have focused on expanding their fulfillment and final mile delivery capacity and expanding geographic reach for these services. While the increase in e-commerce is a great sign of long-term economic recovery and growth in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, it also means that there are increased costs for retailers. as shipping cost and added product handling cost can quickly decrease profit margins on many items. Overall, 2021 could still be a challenging year for many supply chains as transportation costs remain high. The overwhelming demand for e-commerce solutions will also push many smaller firms to add e-commerce fulfillment to their range of supply chain options. Look for more Zmodal supply chain tips and articles coming along very soon. If there are any topics you would like to see covered in our written articles or video series, let us know. Subscribe and like if you haven't already.